video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
I'm KJ Wright from the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching NorbFam.
This is Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
Today, Burleson, you're watching NorbFam.
You're watching NorbFam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. Another sneak preview into the matchup for the third week here back home in Seattle as we take on the visiting Miami Dolphins. Seahawks riding a 2-0 streak right now, top of the NFC West. Just let that soak in for a second. Never saw that coming, but hey, we'll take it, right? But we got a formidable foe coming in, but formidable as we thought they might be prior to last week's events. We're going to find out with my special guest, expert on the Miami Dolphins, all things Miami Dolphins. Please welcome to the show, the one and only Douglie Do Wrong. Douglie, what's going on, man?
Not much, bud. Not much.
Oh, man, interesting times. I guess for every team, every game is interesting times. And surprise teams that are undefeated, surprising teams that are 0-2. They're like hanging in the balance and potentially missing the playoffs already in week 3. But right now we're focused on this game between the Seahawks and the Dolphins. Before we get into the matchup and find out all about what's going on the Dolphins side, why don't you tell everybody who you are, how you kind of how you got into this, and what your channel's about?
So I cover the Miami Dolphins. I also do sprinkle in some normal NFL stuff, but obviously most of it is the Miami Dolphins. Been a fan of them since 1993. I even have the logo tattooed on me. Die hard. I've never lived in Florida a day in my life. Jersey born and raised. I have a degree in a bachelor's degree in media, so I took my love of football, my knowledge of football, matched it with my degree, and I started covering the Dolphins in 2016, 2018. Love every bit of it, and I cover them year round. I don't take off even when they take off, and that can be daunting.
Yeah, very cool. And they just look you up. Are you on all social platforms? Is Douglie Do Wrong?
Yeah, it's a very peculiar name, so it's very easy to find.
Yeah, not too many Douglie Do Wrongs. Just like there's not too many NorbCams out there, so it's easy to find. All right, well, let's get into it. We're only 2 weeks into the season, and boy, Dolphins just, man, we're looking good there. And then last week, just so many things went wrong for the Dolphins. I guess let's start with the elephant in the room. Your quarterback, Tua, put on the IR. What's the prognosis on his situation? I mean, people have talked everything from he might come back in a couple weeks. He might be out at least. Well, now we know he's going to be out for IR, so at least for 4 games. This could be a career ender, some speculate. What's the vibe around Dolphins fans as to what they think is going to happen with Tua in the near or long-term future?
From what it's reported, he's not going to retire, even though, there's some people in the fan base that think he should retire. And then there's some people in the fan base who, we can't do much without him or give him another chance. And, they bring up the whole, there's boxers out there, there's UFC fighters out there that take constant damage to their head and they play. But you see them, they don't have a nice life after they're done playing. So it's a lot of back and forth, but he will play. He's not going to retire. The Dolphins essentially put him on IR to let him have time to go out and see all the neurologists he needs to, see all the people he needs to talk to, and make a more educated decision. So he has about a month because he'll be on IR for a minimum of 4 games, which is about 5 weeks because the Dolphins have a bye in 3 weeks.
What do you think personally? I know there's different opinions, but I'm sure you have your own personal opinion. You're separating yourself from a fan, I guess. What do you feel like what do you think he should do? If he went to you and said, Doug, I trust you, man. What do you think I should do? Do you have an opinion on what Tua ought to do in this situation?
I had a grade 3 concussion back when I was 12, 13, and I still get migraines where I kind of lose some of my vision. And he's had 2 grade 3 concussions in the past 3 years. If he came to me and was like, what should I do? I'd be like, what is going on up here? Like, how are you feeling? Do you feel weird? And then I would talk to him about the fact that, like, look at Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly had a bunch of concussions. He retired at a very young age. Even Andrew Luck, who didn't have concussions, but playing quarterback in the NFL, you take a beating. And this is something that he needs to think about longevity-wise, about his family, about his kids. And will he have a good life after football? Like, he's got his money. Money's not a situation. It's more of a football situation. And if I had to say anything to him, I'd probably lean towards he needs to put him away, just because, if he wants to play at the level he plays at, and Tua is a competitor, he's got that, Samoan in him where he's going to fight. The Dolphins were down. It was very rare for them to come back 21 when they were barely scoring points in that game. But his mentality was, it's 4th and 2, 4th and whatever. I need to get this. We still can be in it. And he didn't slide. And, all of his concussions are his own fault. It's not even the offensive line's fault. So it's like, he's got to really think about his future.
Yeah, sometimes they say your worst enemy is yourself, right? Or the coach or the team has to protect the player from themselves. It sounds like that might be a little bit of the issue too. You brought up that game and mentioned about how they were far behind in that game. So even prior to Tua's injury, it'd be one thing if you guys were like in a tight game and then he went out and all of a sudden you lost the game, but you guys were already down 21. I was surprised. I think a lot of people had the Dolphins winning that game. And tell me why. What was the reason the Bills had you guys' number that night? Was it a fluke thing, or are the Bills that good, or are the Dolphins more susceptible than most of us realize?
I don't see. Some people want to say that it's because maybe they found out and picked up on Mike McDaniel's system or what, but it's been 2 weeks of the offense being very anemic. Even against the Jaguars, our defense has been stepping up and our defense has been helping. You see that we lost 31-10, but 7 of those points came from a pick 6. And the other points came from the fact that it was either an interception or a turnover on downs, gave them short field to march down the field. The Dolphins in that Bills game had a plethora of opportunities to not only take the lead, but match it, with the defense forcing him to punt, the defense, holding him to field goals, all of those things. And the offense couldn't answer. And is it because they're shutting down Tyreek and Waddle? Our third receiver situation in Miami is not good because we have Odell still dealing with an injury. He'll be back hopefully for the Patriots game. We have Craycraft, same situation. And it seems like everyone, and Malik Washington, one of our young drafted guys, hopefully he's back for this game, has been injured the first 2 weeks. So the offense, when it comes to the play calling and when it comes to the execution, has been really bad. And then the offensive line was really bad last week. So to me, it was the offense, because the defense was doing their job and giving them a ton of opportunities. And if you start answering and you start scoring, it forces the other team to change their whole schematic on offense, because they started running the ball and they started eating up the clock. But if you look at the teams compared to each other, the Dolphins had more yards, more time of possession, all this stuff they just couldn't execute, and that was the biggest problem.
It's interesting that you mentioned that the Seahawks, if you were to do an overall assessment, I've been doing an overall assessment, and you may have seen this too, it's kind of similar. Our defense has been really great, and our offense at times looks really great, and then at times the offensive line is just like, what offensive line? They're just coming in, letting guys in, can't run the football. It's been a very unpredictable offensive side of the ball for the Seattle Seahawks, but we've done enough to get it done. But we've been getting it done against teams that we were probably supposed to beat. So the tough games are coming up. This one on my schedule was marked as that. I want to ask you about the backup quarterback situation. So we saw your backup come in late in that game, and of course he didn't do so great, but sure, clearly he probably didn't have a lot of reps to prepare either. So now that he's the guy, tell me a little bit more. What can we expect from your backup quarterback? What's the scouting report on him?
So I like Skyler. Skyler got a lot of opportunities in 2022 when the concussions really started to happen for Tua. Teddy Bridgewater was our backup, and then Teddy Bridgewater went out, and then Skyler got to get his chances. I like Skyler. Skyler has a good arm. He has good arm strength. Like, that's a big difference. And he's more mobile. But for me, the biggest difference between Tua and Skyler, and this is probably why Skyler fell to the 7th where the Dolphins took him in that draft, is he takes a second. It's for him, it's a lot up here because he has the ability to make the throws. It's his processing is kind of slower, whereas that's Tua's strength. His processing, his accuracy, his anticipation, that's where his strength is, where Skyler, his strengths are on the physicality part of it, and he needs to work on that mental aspect. If he can put those together, Skyler can be a really good quarterback in this league. It's just he's a step too slow. He'll see a guy, he'll see he's going to break open, and he'll need to wait for him to break open to throw the ball, and at that point it's too late, and he either gets sacked or it gets smacked down. So if Skyler can get out of his own head and just, let it fly, he could be really good for this team.
So the rest of the matchup, let's get kind of just on overall matchups, how the Seahawks and the Dolphins kind of strengths and weaknesses against each other. What's your for the Seahawks fans out there, what can we expect to see? Again, I've kind of tipped my hand as to what our strengths and weaknesses are. Yours are similar, but coming into this game, I guess one, how much does the quarterback change affect what your take was coming into this game, and really, what can we expect to see from the Dolphins coming in to potentially wreak havoc on the Seahawks?
Probably a lot of running. You saw what Devon Achane did against Buffalo. He was not only running the ball a lot, he was actually catching a lot out of the backfield. Hopefully Raheem Mostert's healthy. If Malik Washington's healthy, we will have a very good 1-2-3 set, because Malik Washington has that crazy speed as well. I'm hoping they do incorporate an offense that takes the ball out of Skyler's hand, kind of like they're doing over in LA with the Chargers, and Herbert is more of a game manager, and they're kind of having JK do the thing. On defense, I'm very interested to see Jalen Ramsey versus DK, because that has always been a great battle between those two guys. And can we stop the run? Sometimes we stop the run, sometimes we do really well with, Brooks, who you guys know very well, and David Long Jr., and then sometimes we just miss our assignments. So I think this is going to be a better game than people expect. And I think it's going to be a more competitive game than people expect, kind of on the par of the Patriots that you guys faced last week.
Yeah, the Patriots game was much closer. Well, I didn't have it being a blowout, but I certainly didn't think it was just going to overtime. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, they ran the ball very well, and we kind of shut them down for a little bit. But then in so doing, we gave the tight end a lot of yards. So it was almost like kind of had to pick and choose your battles. In the end, they did just enough, but we struggled. I mean, we shut down the run entirely against Denver, and then we struggled against it with the Patriots. So somewhere in the middle lies the happy medium, where maybe we don't lock everything down, but we look closer to game one than we did against the Patriots. So fill in this answer for me. The Dolphins will win this game if
the offense gets their stuff together. How do you go from having the number one offense in the NFL, and last year you started out hot, and in week 3 you dropped 70 on the Denver Broncos, and now you're barely scoring 20 against the Jaguars team that's not very good, and against a Buffalo defense that had missed their 2 linebackers and their starting star corner. If the Dolphins can score, and if the Dolphins offense can get their heads out of their butts and move that ball and use their weapons, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, there's some instances last week where they weren't on the field on third down. The Dolphins going to win this game because their defense is doing enough to give them opportunities. They just got to put it together. So if the Dolphins offense can get the ball moving, it can be very scary.
That's a big task given a backup quarterback stepping in with less than a week's preparation. Well, he had a longer week because they didn't play the weekend. So I hear what you're saying. That's a lot to ask for. That's kind of like me asking, if our offensive line would suddenly transform into a good offensive line, we'd be dominating. That ain't going to happen. But, we know what has to get done. The question is, can they actually do it, right? All right. So on the flip side, it may just be the antithesis of what you just said, but what will it take, or why will the Dolphins lose the game on Sunday?
Mistakes. That has been the Dolphins' Achilles heel for the past 2 weeks, is just mistakes, whether it's holding call on their offensive line, drop passes, interceptions, like dumb interceptions, mistakes, challenging it, going for it on 4th instead of punting. I think that's what it will come down to. I think it'll be a close game. And then if the Dolphins make a mistake, that's where it'll cost them, like going for it or trying to run it when we know that you guys have been shutting down our run game. Oh, it's 3rd and 1, run it. It's 4th and 1, run it again. And then you guys get the ball at the 50-yard line. That's where I could see the Dolphins, losing it.
We've seen a few teams suffer from that. We saw that Eagles game where they just kicked the field goal. it's probably a different result, and we had the same thing. We went for it on fourth down, didn't make it, probably changed what would have been not as close of a game. Sometimes the analytics, they don't always tell you what to do. You got to sometimes just go with what you feel is the right thing to do and take the points. But it's going to be an interesting match. I'm going to get your score prediction in a second. But, again, this video is being brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And so, we got a special promotion going on. And, the odds of this game, I believe Seahawks are favored by 4.5. If you like the odds or want to play against the odds, just got to go to BetUS and do this. Go to BetUS right now. If you sign up, put the code YouTube150, you'll get 150% matching deposit on the first deposit and 125% on the next two. Just remember to please gamble responsibly. All right, so let's get to the score predictions, Doug. So what do you got, man? We got a 4.5-point spread in the favor of the Seahawks. What do you think happens in this game on Sunday?
So if I'm a betting man, I'm taking Miami with that spread. I do think it'll be a close game, and I do think it'll probably be around 4 points. So if you're betting and you're taking the spread, you'll win by half a point. I'm gonna use my brain here. I'm gonna take all the Dolphin stuff off and use my brain, and I think that Seattle wins this one just because Skyler he's still too green, and I have the Seahawks winning 24-20.
Interesting. Well, I had I originally predicted that we were going to lose this game by a score of 30-24. And I'm just going to flip that around. It's probably not going to be this high. I feel like our defenses are going to be, it's going to be a defensive battle. Like I said, that's our strength. So it's probably too high, but I'm going to stick with it anyway because that's what I kind of predicted before the season started. So I'm going to flip it that the Seahawks will come on top 30-24. Covering the spread, winning by 6. Hopefully not in nail-biting fashion, like they have to get this at the very end, or that you guys are going for a go-ahead touchdown and we have to like panic to hopefully that you guys don't get in the end zone, that sort of thing, like what happened in that Eagles game. Man, those Eagles fans, I do not want to feel like an Eagles fan come Sunday, that's for sure. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting though, man. So I assume you'll be live streaming and reacting to this game.
Yep, I will be live 4:15 for me. So that's what, 1? That's 1 o'clock for you.
1 o'clock for us.
So yeah, I'll be live.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be live streaming from inside the stadium, so you'll get the raw reaction of the fans in the stands, which I always do on the home games. And we'll see what happens. Any given Sunday, right? I mean, that's why there've been so many upsets. So hopefully, I don't want to be the one that's upset, but that's why they play the games. All right. Again, special thanks to my guest, Douglie Do Wrong of the Miami Dolphins. Take care, man. Appreciate you doing this. And, good luck with all your games after Sunday.
Appreciate it. And let's biggest thing, let's just get it, regardless of what happens, just healthy, because I can't take any more injuries on my team.
Believe me, you mentioned running backs are injured. We don't know what Kenneth Walker's going to do, and we are a totally different team without him. So yeah, injuries, too well. I mean, you got it in the worst possible case. So I feel for you, man. I feel for Tua, man, because he's a good guy. And it's just a shame that he's had some bad luck. So hopefully he can recover from this, and whatever decision is that he makes the right one for his career and for his life. Yeah, and we'll see how it goes for the team as well. So, all right, thanks everybody for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Check out Douglie Do Wrong on all his social channels, and check out mine as well. Like and share this video. Comment away. Let me know what your predictions are for this game. My special guest, Douglie Do Wrong. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Go Hawks. This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Please gamble responsibly.